There's a strange period in life when you can make a mistake, walk away from it, and believe nothing happened. You waste a year. You choose the wrong people. You spend money you don't have. You ignore your health. You keep telling yourself you'll become serious later. And somehow, life lets you continue. Your body recovers. Your parents are still there. You have time to start again. Another opportunity appears. Another year comes around. So you begin to believe you have gotten away with it. But some mistakes don't disappear. They simply become more expensive with age. Your 20s are dangerous for this reason. They give you enough freedom to make decisions, but often not enough experience to understand their consequences. And the frightening part is that some of the things you can get away with in your 20s become the exact things that make your 30s, 40s, and 50s harder. Here are 7 of them. Number 1, living without a plan because you believe you have plenty of time. You can spend your 20s moving from one thing to another without knowing where you're going. You change jobs. You abandon goals. You start something, lose interest, and move on. There is usually enough time to recover. But years have a way of disappearing quietly. The problem isn't that you don't have everything figured out at 20. Almost nobody does. The mistake is reaching 28 with the same uncertainty you had at 20 because you never seriously tried to build a direction. You don't need your entire life planned. You need somewhere meaningful to go because time spent wandering eventually becomes time you cannot recover. Number 2, staying around people who don't respect you. In your 20s, you can tolerate friendships that drain you. You can keep answering the phone for people who only remember you when they need something. You can stay in relationships where you're constantly proving your worth. You tell yourself it's just friendship. You tell yourself people change. You tell yourself you've known them too long to walk away. But the people around you gradually influence what you consider normal. Stay around disrespect long enough, and you can begin accepting treatment you would once have rejected. Leaving the wrong people isn't always loneliness. Sometimes it is the beginning of self-respect. Number 3, treating your health like it will always forgive you. This one is easy to ignore when you're young. You sleep badly. You eat whatever is convenient. You barely exercise. You stay awake until morning and somehow still get up the next day. Your body keeps working, so you assume the system is fine. But youth can hide the bill. You may not feel the consequences immediately. Your body can absorb years of neglect before it starts demanding your attention. The mistake isn't having an unhealthy day. It's turning unhealthy choices into your normal life because you assume you can fix everything later. Later is not guaranteed to be as easy as you imagine. Number 4, spending money simply because you have it. Your first decent income can create a dangerous illusion. You finally have money of your own, so you want to enjoy it. New clothes, new phone, restaurants, trips, subscriptions, things you don't really need but somehow keep buying. And because you're still young, you think you'll earn more eventually. Maybe you will, but the habit matters more than the amount. Someone who learns to spend every increase in income will always feel broke, regardless of how much they make. Your 20s are one of the best periods to learn financial discipline because mistakes are still relatively small. Learn to save. Learn to invest. Learn to delay gratification. You don't need to become rich in your 20s. You need to stop teaching yourself that every dollar you receive must immediately disappear. Number 5, chasing attention instead of building a life. This can happen without you noticing. You start measuring your worth through likes, messages, compliments, followers, romantic attention, or the reaction of people who barely know you. A good photograph makes you feel valuable. Being ignored makes you question yourself. Someone's approval lifts you up. Their rejection brings you down. That is a dangerous way to live. Attention feels like progress because it gives you an immediate emotional reward. But attention doesn't necessarily make you wiser, stronger, wealthier, healthier, or more capable. Build something that remains valuable even when nobody is watching. A skill, a business, a career, a body you're proud of, a character you can trust. Because attention disappears quickly. What you build stays. Number 6, stay in the wrong relationship because you are afraid to start again. A lot of people waste years here. They know something isn't right. The relationship has become exhausting. The respect is disappearing. The future doesn't look the way they hoped. But leaving feels frightening. So they stay. Then another year passes. And another. Youth gives you something people often underestimate. The ability to start over. You can leave a bad relationship and still have time to rebuild your life. You can meet different people. You can discover who you actually are outside of that relationship. Don't confuse history with compatibility. Just because you've spent years with someone doesn't mean you owe them the rest of your life. Sometimes the greatest cost of staying is losing the years you could have spent somewhere better. Number 7, waiting to become the person you keep saying you will become. This is perhaps the easiest mistake to make. You say you'll become disciplined later. You'll read later. You'll exercise later. You'll learn the skill later. You'll take the opportunity later. You'll become confident later. But the future version of you is being built by what you repeatedly do today. There is no magical morning when you suddenly wake up disciplined, confident, financially responsible, healthy, focused, and emotionally mature. You become that person through ordinary decisions nobody applauds. You wake up when you don't feel like it. You save when you want to spend. You leave when you know you should leave. You learn when entertainment is easier. You keep your promises to yourself. That's how your future is created. And if you're watching this because you've already made some of these mistakes, don't misunderstand the message. The point isn't that you ruined your life. You have not. Regret becomes useful when it becomes information. Maybe you wasted money. Maybe you trusted the wrong people. Maybe you spent years chasing someone who wasn't right for you. Maybe you neglected yourself. Maybe you simply lost time. You cannot go backward and correct the original decision, but you can stop paying for it. That's the advantage you still have. If you're in your 20s right now, don't expect yourself to have life completely figured out. Just understand that the choices you're making repeatedly are becoming the foundation you'll eventually have to live on. And if you're older, remember this. Getting away with something is not the same as escaping its consequences. Sometimes the consequence is simply waiting for you. So don't spend your youth trying to avoid every mistake. Use it to make sure the mistakes you do make don't become the life you keep living.